V8 version.
Going hot.
Welcome to the long range shooter. Now today is quite exciting because I've received another package that I've been waiting for. Now, as you know, as you've seen in my previous video, I had to steal the scope off of my hunting rifle so I could do low development with this rifle, but that is about to change because what I have here is the tier 1 Unimount ring set that I have purchased for this rifle. Now I'll get to this in a moment. Another thing, this is just some ring reducers. These are just ring reducers which fit into the Unimount. I'll get to this just now as well. And what's exciting is I've got this bullet coating kit, which is a hex boron nitride lubrication media, and I will be doing this a separate video on this as well. Now, the previous Nightforce Ultra rings that I had were just plain too low because of the bore axis being too low in combination with the very high cheek piece. So I had to look at another ring set, and this time I decided to go with another brand name which is quite well known and I'm really impressed with their products, and that is this tier 1. They are made in England, and this is a Unimount. And the advantage of a Unimount is that you can have built-in cant into your mount, and for long range shooting where your scope is sometimes limited to the amount of elevation adjustments or travel which is internally built in, this can be a solution to that problem. I don't really have that problem. This is only a 223 and the scope will get me out to 1,000 yards, which I'm not planning to really shoot further than that. But I can transfer this Unimount to another rifle such as a 6.5 or some other efficient long range cartridge, and I can simply just move this across without losing zero, without worrying too much about it. So this is what the Unimount looks like. It's got 6 Torx bolts per ring, and it's got 4 bigger Torx bolts securing it on the bottom. It's got nice recoil lugs, and what's pretty nice about it is that they specify the torque specs on the bottom. This, however, is specified in Newton meters and not inch pounds. What's also pretty cool about this product is that it is supplied with a leveling wedge. Now, once you've put your Unimount on, there's a groove over here, and you simply slide this leveling block into that groove up to the bottom flat surface of your scope. It's generally under your turrets, and then it's very easy and quick to level your scope. And what's also quite nice is tier 1 have included the Torx bits which you need to put this guy on. So I'm going to get into this relatively quickly. Now, the first thing to do is just to, most importantly, ensure that the rifle is safe. So the magazine is out and the chamber is clear. There's no ammo near the rifle. Just for control purposes, I'm going to make sure that the rifle is relatively level. It's not really necessary to do it when mounting this type of a scope system, but it just ensures that you have a greater control over what you are doing. So I'm just wrestling this around until I'm happy, and that looks like it should do. So that looks to be relatively level to my eye. and we are just going to use these Torx bits which are supplied by Tier 1 just to loosen these Torx bolts. And what's quite nice about this Unimount is it's got a built-in bubble level, so you can check so that you do not cant your rifle unnecessarily. What I like about these products is the fact that all the torque bolts on this Unimount are made from titanium, so they are very strong and they will hold up through the roughest conditions and abuse. So what we are going to do is, it's easy to see where the back is because you just look for the bubble level, and we are going to put this on. We just need to back these out quite a bit. This is so you can see, and I'm just doing this by hand. Hopefully it'll slide over. So we just need to once again check that the recoil lugs on the bottom of the Unimount engage with the slots of the Picatinny rail, and then we're just going to push it against it and to the front due to the inertia wanting to move forward when the rifle recoils to the rear. And then we are going to just finger tighten this. I would advise for you just to check when you are mounting this type of a system to just determine your eye relief as well, and to just try and get your positioning quite right, because when your scope sits in here it needs to be in line with the middle, so you can use this leveling wedge in order to level your scope. Another nice thing about this system is that you can interchange it between various rifles. So I can mount, or I can just loosely place this Unimount on the Picatinny rail. I can put the scope in, I can level it, and if I'm not happy with the positioning of this Unimount, I can simply just undo it, leave the scope in place in the Unimount and move that around. It will, however, then change your point of impact, but I'm going to set it up now so I'm happy with it, so I can just zero it at the range. Now we are just going to loosen all of these 12 top Torx bolts so we can fit the scope in. Now another thing to note is that this Unimount does come in a 30mm tube size, or that the rings can accommodate a 30mm tube size, but this one is a 34mm. Now you want to know how is a 34mm going to work for a 30mm tube size, and this is where this comes in. This is a third eye tactical ring reducer set, so you are capable of mounting a 30mm tube size in this 34mm size. Now if I was going to stay with a 30mm tube size for the rest of my life, it probably would have been better to get a Unimount that accommodates a 30mm tube size from the get-go. However, I'm probably at some stage going to move to a 34mm tube size, so that means I do not have to buy another Unimount ring set. I can just remove these ring reducers and mount a 34mm tube straight into the system. So now that we've got these out, we are just going to simply put them around the tube of the scope. What we are going to do now is we are going to get the scope out again, and we need to fit the ring reducers around the scope. So we'll just put this box over here for now, and we'll leave the caps on. Now bear with me, because this is the first time I'm doing this and I need to try and show this to you. So I'm gonna just stretch them and try not to break them over the scope mount, and I presume it's the only way to do so. Okay, so that's the first ring reducer, and the second one will go on the rear. Now, apologies that you can't see this, but I do not feel like dropping this scope at this point in time, so I'll just do it on my lap. Now I need to complete taking these caps off, and then I'll get back to you just now. I'm doing this in a bit of an unorganized fashion, but before we put the scope into the Unimount base, we need to torque these base screws. Now the torque spec for the base screws are 4 Newton meters, so if I adjust accordingly over here onto 4 and then lock it down, then we will proceed to doing this. And this uses the larger torque split that's applied with your Unimount ring set. And I'm going to torque it in the same torque order as the Spur Unimount specify theirs, and that's simply torquing the inside before the outside. So I'm going to start here at the rear inner Torx bolt. I'm just going to be carefully tightening it until the torque wrench indicates that we are at the desired torque. Now for the front inner one, this is quite an awkward position. There we go. And now the outer Torx bolts. And that's that. Now we are going to grab this guy and simply just place it down. Now these ring reducers have a slight gap in them, and I'm going to put them down facing towards the top. They will, however, close once the scope is in and it is torqued down. now we are going to put these top caps back on, and then we're going to finger tighten them, and then the next thing to do is just to verify that our eye relief is in the desired position for the scope. Okay, so now this is where the exciting part comes in. Now we are going to use this leveling wedge supplied by Tier 1 with our Unimount that we are going to insert at the bottom here. However, you might not be able to see it. I will just illustrate this on my phone and then you should be able to see as well. So once again, this is the leveling wedge which I'm talking about, and the slot where I'm going to insert it is over there. So you simply insert the slanted side towards the bottom and you just slide it up against your scope. So now you can see over here that the leveling wedge is in place, and we can simply tighten the scope down. Having done that and having the leveling wedge in place, we can now move on to hand tightening these top rings and then torquing them down as well. Now these top torque bolts need to be torqued to a specification of 2 Newton meters, which I'm just setting on this torque wrench, and we are going to now just snug it down while keeping the leveling wedge in place, and we are just going to tighten in a diagonally repeating pattern until all of the torque bolts are tightened by hand. It's also just important to regularly check your ring gaps in order so they remain the same. However, these ring reducers are quite helpful so that the rings, which are highly unlikely in any ways, but so they do not leave ring marks on your scope if your ring gaps are incorrect. However, these Tier 1s have very big undercuts on the side of the rings to prevent you from pinching your scope tube. I'm just verifying that it's preset to 2, and then we can start our torquing procedure. And this will also occur in a diagonally repeating pattern. So that's the first one, moving across and over. There we go. Okay, so we are done. We have mounted the base for the Unimount, we have mounted the top caps, and we have leveled it with this leveling wedge. Now I've also determined the eye relief, and this positioning is fine for my eye when lying down, when sitting behind a bench, and when standing. So this will be it for now. Tomorrow I'm leaving. We're going to do some long range shooting, so stay tuned for that. It might be a while before the video is up, since we have no internet connection in the region where we are going. But I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you learned something from it. I really am impressed with these tier 1 rings, and stay tuned for more. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button, and also go check out my Instagram account. It's at @TLRS_SA, and then I will see you next time.